Hello, hello. Welcome to this episode of the Rogers Radio Podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening today. You're going to be just as excited as I am for this guest that we have. She runs a staple restaurant in the community, and everyone knows this place, and we're so lucky to have it, and that is Molasses Grill. And today we have Karen Schopen here, and I cannot wait to hear her story. This is the first episode. We are actually sitting in Karen's home right now recording this podcast. This is the first time I've taken the podcast on the road, and it's so fun, and I'm so happy to be here. So thank you for being here today, Karen.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming.
Yes, and I'm just excited to be in your home. You know, I've eaten at Molasses Grill many, many times. It's one of me and Joey's favorite restaurants, and all of the occasions that we have, and, you know, we like to go there and celebrate. And I want to talk about that too, and we'll get into that. But to be in your home, it's just this is the first time I've been here, and I'm just so excited.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
We have, this is our third home in Halifax County.
Is it?
Yeah. And between this first and the second, we thought for sure we were going to be leaving, which is why we sold the first home. And through happenstance, and all of a sudden, we were like, well, this is where we're going to be opening this restaurant we've always planned on opening. So so this is our third home, and happy to be here.
Oh, well, it's a beautiful home, and again, thank you for having me. And speaking of that, you know, you said you thought you were going to leave, and this is the third home, and you opened a restaurant. So I want to get into that a little bit and learn about your background and what led you to opening a restaurant and how you got there. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. I was a graduate of Hyatt Hotels management program. It was a one-year comprehensive training program wherein over the course of a year you work in every division within the hotel.
Wow.
Really a great opportunity out of Michigan State to have that. I'm a big fan of training.
Yes.
I was then, and I'm ever so more so now, because I think it's really important for each aspect of an operation to understand what the other part is doing.
Yes.
So when you're making commitments, you to a guest potentially, you know if they're realistic, those commitments, because you're not just speaking for yourself. When you've got multiple players, you're speaking for everyone. So Hyatt Hotels, and that's where I met Stephen. We were in Washington, D.C. On Capitol Hill.
Awesome.
He had come in from, he had been recruited out of Germany, and I had come from Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a really fun, unique time in my life. Wouldn't change it for the world. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
So anyway, fast forward, after we started having children, he continued to pursue his career as a chef. I had focused in on human resources as the lock-in kind of area that I had wanted to pursue. And after we came here, it had always been a dream to open up a restaurant together in a community that was reinventing itself.
Yeah.
Like try to get on the ground up and hopefully help grow the community.
Yeah.
And that's where we started 18 years ago.
Wow. How cool is that? And so, Steve, you met at Hyatt with Hyatt, and was he a chef for Hyatt? Is that how he came in?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. And so how long were the two of you with Hyatt?
We were both with Hyatt for a few years. We transferred back to Michigan. I took a position with Hyatt in Dearborn, Michigan, and together we traveled back.
Yeah, that is so neat. And, you know, to have those fundamentals that you got from Hyatt and the training, and you mentioned training being so important, and I'm in full agreement with that. And to see what you've done with the restaurant, and it makes so much sense now because, you had this background in HR and him with, being a chef, and to mold those two together, because you need that when in a restaurant. And so many people think, oh, I'm a good cook, so I'm going to open a restaurant, but it takes so much more than that, and I know you know that. And so it's just really neat to see what you guys have been able to do, and to keep it running and prospering over the years. And you said, this is your third home, and you thought you were going to leave here. So what made you decide to stay in Halifax and open up Molasses Grill?
Well, there was a moment there. We had both relocated here to open up Berry Hill when it was owned by the AXA.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was initially what brought us to Halifax, was that property and that development. And Stephen was the executive chef there. So when that bumpy ride, during one of its bumps, we both lost our jobs on the same day.
Wow.
And we said, well, why not now? I mean, this is
awesome.
We had always wanted to do it. We started shopping around for a location here in the county to open up our restaurant. And I have to say, going back to the training thing, I always knew that opening a restaurant in this market would require a great amount of training, because we weren't going to be able to, like in a city, extract other talent,
right?
Or in a college town where you have front of the house servers that are also doing something else, and have been to a fine dining restaurant. So,
right.
So we really had to work on creating that experience for our staff.
Yes, and you do such a good job at it. You get a consistent experience every single time you walk in those doors.
Well, that's really great to hear.
Yes.
Because that is the goal. I mean, because our of course we do have a lot of special occasion guests,
sure.
But we also are very hopeful to have that repeat business. That's your bread and butter. And so our motto that we've carried through is every guest, every time. Because you don't want to take for granted the customer that's been there twice a month, that, oh, that's so and so, he always gets this or whatever. I mean, we want to create the excitement, and the complementary motto to that, in practice, I hope that we give to our staff to extend to our guests, is easy, friendly, professional service. We don't want to be stuffy. We don't want to make our guests feel uncomfortable if they don't know what fork to use, that kind of thing. That's that easy, friendly, professional service that we kind of hope to encapsulate in that dining experience.
You definitely do a great job at it. And a little, story that I've never told you, but, Joey and I started running Rogers Heating and Cooling in 2018. And when we were coming up with our plans, and we didn't have many employees then, and we knew that we wanted to get bigger. And so...
And haven't you? My goodness.
Oh, well, thank you. And we'll always sit down at the table and say, okay, how are we going to do this? And what do we need to do to make this happen? And we'd always talk about you and your staff and how amazing they are, and how can we make sure that all of our customers have a consistent experience every time. And we always go back to Molasses Grill and the staff there, and how can we make this happen on our side? And so we definitely mold a lot of what we do, and we talk about you guys a lot on
very flattering.
How great
Thank
you guys are. And we've always said, can we just send them to Molasses Grill through their training program? And then they come back and know exactly what to do and how to treat customers. So
that is so flattering.
Yeah, just a little fun story about how much we look up to you guys. So just really appreciate everything that you do for the community.
It really comes through because unfortunately, I've had to use your company's services a lot between my home and the restaurant. And your guys, honestly, I mean, they are such professionals. And I'm not here just for lip service.
Right.
But honest to goodness, I mean, you can tell they really respect your company.
Right.
There's been times they're putting on boot covers to walk in the basement. I'm going, you don't need to do that. Oh, yes, we do.
Yeah.
Every time they're like, yes, we're doing that, and happily.
Well, you're setting the example, and we talk about you guys a lot. So, and thank you for those kind words. And I want to know what characteristics that you possess that you think have made you the most successful.
Well, I hope that I'm a good listener.
Definitely.
I think a good listener and also interested in the people that I'm speaking to.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody has a story, and I really try to make people know that they're important to me. And it's not a try. I think it's.
Definitely.
I think that's genuine.
I feel that. Yeah.
And so that's really easy to do. And we really do care if they are having a good experience.
Right.
So I think, when we first started out, what I really came to want to bring out in staff is the heart of a servant. Mm-hmm. Biblically, I think it's a great way to walk through life. Mm-hmm. And not only just walk the talk, talk the walk, or however that goes.
Yeah.
But to have the heart of a servant and to look for opportunities to bring that out to a guest.
Right.
I think it's also, so having a heart of a servant, I think, is a part of it. And also, like with staff, I think to treat people the way you want to be treated.
Definitely.
I do think that's really, I see that both in Stephen and myself. Like, we really don't ever want to ask our staff to do something that we aren't willing to do ourselves.
It's powerful.
And, Stephen's such a hands-on operator. I think his staff just know that. When he's asking them to do something, it's not because he thinks he's above doing it.
Right.
He's very much like, they know he can do it, but we're all here to do it together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you talk a lot about being, a servant. And is that how you describe your leadership style, or how would you describe that?
Leadership style. I think my staff would have more to say about that than me. Again, I think we, almost to a fault sometime, I think we put their personal needs. We're really respectful of each person's personal needs. I like to have a team that is there committed full-time, and also some people that are doing it for their living, to kind of give that backbone. This is their bread and butter, and I can count on them. And then also having those people that are moving in and through other things, going to school, working towards another goal.
Yes.
Because I think being goal driven is really important.
For sure.
And I think it's a great job for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Working mothers, teachers, the operation can really help fill some gaps in your income.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, because it's not something that, I've thought of a lot, but I know it's a huge deal in your business. You talk about people that are trying to work toward another goal, and you spend a lot of time on training and making sure that all your customers are taken care of and have a consistent experience. What is that like, to have a place where it may just be a stepping stone for people, and then they are going on to bigger and better things? And I know it's so exciting, but that has to be hard you're always training, aren't you?
Always training.
Yes.
Always hiring, always training. And again, it probably wouldn't be so easy if I didn't have the management team in place.
Of course, a great one.
Our dining room manager, Lauren, my daughter, she interacts very much with the staff, and is very aware of all of their personal needs and tries to manage that all. And again, I think the team, they're always trying to help cover for each other as well.
That's great.
And we have fun together. So that's the other part. We really have fun together.
I can tell because I walked in one time to pick up a to-go order, I think, and the restaurant wasn't open just yet. It was about to, but I saw the whole team together, and they were going over the specials for the night, and just, it just seemed like they were having a great time. And that's just awesome to see.
I hope so.
Yeah, it just looked like a family to me.
Well, we are very lucky. We have some staff members that are in their 12th year, and some that are they're in their second month. So
yes,
just keep it going.
Yes, it's great. And I want to know, speaking of that, we have a lot of listeners that are in their career and they're not really sure where they want to go, or they're just starting their career. What advice would you give anyone that's just starting out?
I speak from experience. In the negative, I think if you're going to start a business, start with an accountant.
Oh, smart.
I think getting your systems in place from the get-go is really important. Usually you're flying by the seat of your pants, which you will be because there's 1,000 things to do. And I know with me, I always kept thinking, well, I'll be able to back into this. I'll be able to back all this information back into later. But I know I made that mistake up front.
Wow.
And I think we would have been a lot more responsive to you've heard the adage, numbers never lie.
Right.
Okay, so maybe it was good that we didn't really know what the numbers were. Because I always said our financial folly.
I understand. Yes.
But, you kind of know that too. I mean, a good accountant will tell you you're not going to realize a profit for this, based on what you're currently doing.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you can expect to start turning some numbers around. But I do think getting those systems in place is really important.
That is fantastic advice, and we've learned the hard way on in some areas, and it's just definitely get your team together before starting anything.
I mean, the one thing you got to know in business is numbers never lie.
Yes.
I mean, you can fool yourself about those numbers,
True.
but the numbers are the numbers, and
yes.
You got to know how to read them.
Amazing advice. Amazing advice. So you are. Molasses Grill is the go-to restaurant for special occasions, for gatherings. It's known throughout Halifax County and beyond. People travel to come to Molasses Grill because it is such a great restaurant. How does that feel to you? And let me not forget that you got Business of the Year a couple years ago for Halifax County. I mean, just amazing accomplishments, a place that people want to go to. They want to get dressed up. They want to look nice. They want to take pictures in front of your restaurant and tell everyone that they were there. And how does that feel to you?
Well, I'd be remiss not to say proud.
Right.
It really is a great sense of accomplishment. It's in part, it feels a little bit like a responsibility at this point.
Of course.
I mean, I do feel very responsible to our staff members. I mean, there's a lot of times where, the snow's falling, let's just close. My gosh,
Yes.
But when you have a staff that's depending on that income, you're not making choices just for yourself any longer. And we feel that way about the county too. We're not making choices just for ourselves. We're making choices for the betterment of the community.
It's amazing that you say that because, this is the first year that I can really see in our business, and just what you said, it's not about making all the money and bringing in all of this profit and the revenue numbers. I'm starting to see that it's all about giving back to the community, and the more we grow, the more we can grow our community. And it's
so
just
true.
a great feeling to know that we can give back and contribute in that way. And I could see that with you guys, and I know it's the C word, the COVID word, but owning a restaurant I know was super hard during that time. And the way that you all were able to transition and just make that change and say, okay, we're still going to stay open and we're going to make sure that you can still get a great experience at home.
Pivot, 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 pivot. Flexible, flexible, flexible.
Right.
Yeah.
And keeping those doors open.
And also, I gotta say, I mean, I work with some really creative people. I am so fortunate that my family in particular is so creative.
Yes.
Lauren, oh my gosh, her creativity is off the charts. And Brittany, creativity with and bringing in outside ideas,
Yes.
and applying them and digging into the numbers and making numbers work. It's cool.
You made it work, that's for sure. And to still provide those options, even, I don't know if we're considered to still be going through COVID anymore, or I don't know what that is like now, but still having that to-go system and being able to pick up on the table, it's just fantastic what you guys were
there
able
were
to
some
do.
good things that came out of that experience, for sure.
Yes.
We knew going at that point, our goal with our staff was we knew we wanted to be able to come out on the other side, if there was going to be another side, and we really had hoped that there would be, that we needed to have a staff ready to go. So, so we really had to play it out to keep enough people employed so that when the ground, when the air cleared, we would be able to keep going.
Well, you've done a great job at that, and I'd like to know what is one lesson that you've learned along this huge long journey that you've had, that you take with you in your day-to-day life, in your career, in all aspects.
Well, being flexible, and again, that may be a benefit of being small, not being a big operation. You have the ability to pivot pretty quickly, and that is an advantage. One lesson that I've taken through is know that everything's going to change. So don't ever think you've got it all figured out.
That is a fact. Yes. That's a fact. And what is a motto you live by? I heard the restaurant's motto you mentioned. What is a motto that you live by?
You may need, I don't know. What motto do I live by? I think just obviously the ones that I've mentioned, is to treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yes.
Just try to step back and be calm.
Yes, you have to be in your world for sure. You have a lot of people in and out of the restaurant, and calm is definitely something that's needed for sure.
It's never been 100%. I could say that, but that would be lofty to say. But no, just to try to step back and treat people the way you want to be treated.
Awesome. You also talked earlier about goals and how you love for people to have goals and to achieve their goals, and helping them get there. So we are very goal driven at Rogers too. So I like to hear what your current goals are.
I do think it's my current goals, other than getting my knee better and getting back up and walking.
And we haven't mentioned that, so I don't know if you would like to mention it and what's going on, because this all goes back to what we're talking about, and pivoting and being calm and always knowing that everything can change. And so what has happened to you recently?
And it can change on a dime.
Yeah.
Just recently I did a slip and fall, and a classic slip and fall, and shattered my kneecap, and I'm going to be off the floor for quite a few months here recovering. So when you ask what my current goal is, as of this minute, it's to heal.
Definitely.
But anyway, for the restaurant, it's really to continue the standards that we are there, and that we've attempted to instill. And I do think, I just even in this last 2 weeks that I've been away, knowing that the staff is really working towards, are equally committed to our goals, owning those goals and wanting to keep those in play despite not being there to oversee it. That part is, I think I do feel definitely accomplished on that
Yeah. And, unfortunately, you had to step away, and you weren't planning it. But how amazing to know
It really is.
that everything is still running.
Yeah, it really, I could tear up just thinking
Yes.
about it.
I mean, everyone would want that. And as business owners, it can be so easy to say, oh, if I'm not there, it's going to fall apart. And, it can't run without me. And then to see what you guys have built to be able to have a place that if something were to happen, it still continues. It's really fantastic.
Yeah, and just also trusting those players. It doesn't have to be exactly our vision, because I've got some really creative people front and center, and they can bring fresh ideas to it. Maintaining a freshness is really important.
Yes.
To the operation and to, people feeling an energy when they come in. You don't want it to feel stale ever.
Right. And it surely doesn't. And I look forward to the Facebook posts every week to see what the specials are every week. So I'm always looking forward to what they are. And are we going this weekend? So you definitely do a great job at keeping it fresh.
Thank you.
And the one question that I love to end every podcast with is, if you could have dinner with one living person outside of your family, who would it be?
I don't know how business savvy this is, but I would love to sit down with Stephen Colbert.
Awesome. That's a good one.
I find his ability to laugh through life really, really inspiring, and his energy, I think it's great. And I love that he's committed to his family. He's, he always talks about his wife. So I'm not trying to move in on Stephen. I just, or that Stephen.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really like his values.
Yeah.
And I think he'd be a lot of fun.
I love that answer, and I love everything that you've been able to accomplish. I can't wait to see what continues to be accomplished at Molasses Grill, and with you and your recovery and you getting back on your feet and still leading that front. I mean, I'm sure you're still in touch with everything that's going on, and how amazing it is to be able to sit back and actually see it all happen and look at everything that you've accomplished. And so thank you for what you do for the community and for sitting down with me today.
You made this awfully easy.
Oh, well, thank you. And I definitely want to have you back again once you're healed and get some more updates on where life has taken you and what you're doing and all of the great things. So thank you again.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of the Rogers Radio Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Continue reviewing, rating, subscribing to the episodes, and giving me feedback. I want to know what you want to hear, who you want to hear, and just continue listening. We'll talk to you next week.